Amber Wilson clutched the jar of organic baby food in her trembling hand, staring at the $4.99 price tag as if it might somehow change if she looked hard enough. The fluorescent lights of Walker's grocery buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across her exhausted face. At 28, with dark circles under her eyes and her brown hair hastily pulled into a messy bun, Amber looked older than her years. Her 11-month-old daughter, Lily, squirmed in the shopping cart seat, her chubby hands reaching for the colorful jar. "Just a minute, sweetie," Amber whispered, mentally recalculating her grocery budget for the third time. After paying for daycare this week, she had exactly 40 left for groceries, gas, and the co-pay for Lily's pediatrician appointment tomorrow. The cart already held the bare essentials: milk, eggs, bread, and the cheapest fruits and vegetables she could find. Even with her careful planning and coupons, she was still $5 over budget. With a deep sigh that seemed to come from her very soul, Amber gently placed the jar back on the shelf. Lily's face scrunched up, sensing her mother's distress, and she began to fuss. "I know, baby girl, I'm sorry," Amber murmured, blinking back tears as she reached for the generic brand instead. Even that would stretch her budget too thin, but perhaps she could skip lunch for the next few days. She hadn't told anyone at the accounting firm where she worked part-time that she sometimes went without eating. Her pride wouldn't allow it. From 2 aisles over, Ryan Blackwell watched the scene unfold. At 36, the CEO of Evergreen Foods had a reputation as a ruthless businessman, but something about the young mother's quiet dignity struck him. He hadn't planned to be in Walker's grocery tonight. In fact, he rarely did his own shopping. But his housekeeper had been sick, and he'd needed to pick up a few items before heading back to his empty penthouse. Ryan adjusted his simple grey sweater, grateful that no one in this small-town grocery store seemed to recognize him. With his dark hair slightly tousled from running his hands through it during his stressful day, and his stubbled jaw, he looked more like an ordinary guy than the head of a multi-billion-dollar organic food empire. He watched as Amber placed the cheaper baby food in her cart, her shoulders slumped in defeat. Something about her reminded him of his own mother, who had raised him alone after his father abandoned them when Ryan was just 5 years old. He remembered the same look of quiet determination on his mother's face as she worked multiple jobs to keep food on the table. Without thinking, Ryan grabbed his phone and pretended to take a call, walking past the young mother to get a closer look. Lily immediately locked eyes with him, offering a gummy smile that made his chest tighten unexpectedly. "Well, hello there, little one," he said, unable to help himself. Amber looked up, startled. "I'm sorry, is she in your way?" she asked, moving to pull her cart aside. "Not at all," Ryan replied with a warm smile. "I was just admiring her cheerful spirit. How old is she?" 11 months next Tuesday, Amber said, her expression softening with maternal pride. "She's usually shy around strangers, but she seems to like you." Ryan chuckled as Lily babbled happily, reaching toward him with sticky fingers. "I'll take that as a compliment. Kids and dogs, they're the best judges of character, or so my mother always said." For a brief moment, the weight on Amber's shoulders seemed to lighten, and Ryan noticed how her eyes, a warm hazel, brightened when she smiled. There was something refreshingly genuine about her that stood in stark contrast to the polished, calculating women who usually surrounded him in his corporate world. "Well, we should get going," Amber said, suddenly self-conscious under his gaze. "It's getting close to her bedtime." Ryan nodded, stepping aside. "Of course, have a good evening." He watched her walk away, noting how she paused in the cereal aisle, checking prices and putting back a box of what appeared to be her favorite cereal for a cheaper alternative. Making a quick decision, Ryan grabbed a basket and filled it with groceries, making sure to include the organic baby food he had seen her return to the shelf. At the checkout, he positioned himself 2 lanes over, keeping an eye on Amber as she unloaded her meager cart, anxiety evident in every movement, as the cashier scanned each item. When the total came up, he saw her shoulders tense as she counted out exact change from a worn wallet. Ryan paid for his own groceries quickly, then approached the store manager, a balding man with kind eyes whom he recognized from his market research visits to local stores that carried Evergreen products. "Mr. Blackwell, what a surprise to see you here," the manager Dave exclaimed. "Please keep your voice down," Ryan said quietly. "I need a favor." After a brief conversation and slipping Dave his business card along with several $100 bills, Ryan watched from near the exit as the manager approached Amber in the parking lot. Outside, the autumn air was crisp as Amber strapped Lily into her car seat in her aging Honda Civic. She was so focused on making sure the straps were secure that she didn't notice Dave approaching until he called out to her. "Ma'am, excuse me?" Amber turned, her heart sinking. Had she accidentally taken something without paying? With Lily's teething and the endless overtime she'd been working, her brain felt perpetually foggy these days. "Yes," she asked, trying to keep the worry from her voice. "You forgot some of your groceries," Dave said, holding out 2 large bags. "The cashier missed these items." Amber frowned in confusion. "There must be some mistake. I didn't buy these things." Dave smiled kindly. "No mistake. These are yours. Have a wonderful evening." Before she could protest further, he placed the bags in her trunk and walked away, leaving Amber staring after him in bewilderment. Cautiously, she peeked into one of the bags, gasping when she saw the organic baby food. Not just 1 jar, but an entire case, along with fresh fruits, vegetables, a whole roasted chicken, and several other items she had longed to purchase but couldn't afford. From his car across the lot, Ryan watched the confusion and then wonder spread across Amber's face. He couldn't explain the satisfaction he felt seeing her smile, or why the sight of her hugging herself tightly as she looked into the bags made him feel more accomplished than closing his latest multi-million-dollar deal. As Amber drove away, Ryan sat in his Audi, pondering why he'd felt compelled to help this particular stranger. Perhaps it was her quiet dignity, or the way she'd sacrificed for her child without complaint. Or maybe it was simply because, for the first time in years, someone had looked at him as just a man, not the ruthless CEO whose face appeared regularly in business magazines. Whatever the reason, Ryan found himself wanting to know more about the single mother with the tired eyes and genuine smile. Little did he know that this chance encounter at Walker's Grocery would set in motion events that would change both their lives forever. The mysterious grocery gift haunted Amber's thoughts for days. Each time Lily happily devoured the organic baby food, guilt and gratitude battled within her. Someone had noticed her struggle and responded with kindness, yet accepting charity went against everything her fiercely independent father had instilled in her before his death 3 years ago. "You're overthinking this," said Megan Andrews, Amber's best friend since college, as they sat in Amber's small apartment kitchen the following Saturday. Megan was everything Amber wasn't. Confident, outspoken, and perpetually optimistic, despite working as an overworked nurse at the local hospital. "Am I?" Amber asked, watching Lily play with wooden blocks on her worn playmat. "What if it's some creep who expects something in return? Or worse, what if Child Services is watching me thinking I can't provide for my daughter?" Megan rolled her eyes, her red curls bouncing. "For heaven's sake, Amber, not everyone has an agenda. Sometimes people are just nice. In my experience, that's rarely true," Amber replied, thinking of Justin, Lily's father, who had disappeared the moment Amber told him she was pregnant, or her former boss at the accounting firm in Chicago, who had offered her a promotion right before attempting to kiss her during a company party. When she'd refused his advances, her position had mysteriously become redundant 2 weeks later. "Well, Mr. Mystery Benefactor didn't even stick around for a thank you, did he?" Megan pointed out. "That suggests he wasn't looking for anything in return." Amber had to admit Megan had a point. Still, she felt an inexplicable need to thank whoever had helped her. "I'm going back to Walker's today to talk to the manager. Maybe he can tell me who it was so I can at least express my gratitude." "Or pay them back?" Megan asked knowingly. "Eventually," Amber admitted, "when things get better." Megan leaned forward, her expression turning serious. "How are things, really? You've been avoiding the topic since you moved back to Millfield." Amber sighed, glancing at Lily to ensure she was still occupied with her blocks. "Honestly, it's harder than I expected. The part-time position at Harrison Accounting barely covers rent and daycare. I've been applying for full-time jobs, but without recent experience." She trailed off, not needing to complete the thought. "Have you considered asking your mother-in-law for help?" Megan asked gently. Amber's expression hardened. "Victoria made it clear she blames me for Justin leaving. She's never even met Lily, despite my attempts to reach out. I won't beg her for anything. Well, my offer still stands. Move in with me and squeeze into your 1-bedroom apartment with a baby." "No thanks," Amber laughed, but squeezed Megan's hand gratefully. "We'll be okay. Something will turn up. It has to." Across town, Ryan Blackwell paced the hardwood floors of his temporary residence, a luxurious short-term rental overlooking Millfield River. The small Midwestern town wasn't his usual scene, but Evergreen Foods was considering acquiring a local organic farm supplier, and Ryan preferred to handle important acquisitions personally. "You're distracted," observed Thomas Grant, Ryan's chief financial officer and oldest friend, who sat reviewing acquisition documents at the dining table. "That's the 5th time you've checked your phone in 10 minutes. Ryan frowned, slipping his phone back into his pocket. "Just expecting an important email." "Uh-huh," Thomas replied skeptically. "This wouldn't have anything to do with your mysterious shopping trip the other night, would it? Dave from Walker's Grocery called the office to thank you for your generosity. Care to explain?" Ryan shot Thomas an annoyed look. It was nothing. Just helping someone out. Ryan Blackwell, the man Forbes called the Wolf of Organic Foods, anonymously helping a random shopper? "That's definitely not nothing," Thomas said, his curiosity piqued. "Who was she?" "Who said it was a she?" Ryan countered, but his quick defense gave him away. Thomas laughed. "Now I'm really intrigued. Spill it, man." With a resigned sigh, Ryan briefly explained his encounter with Amber and Lily. "She was putting back baby food because she couldn't afford it. It reminded me of my mom." Thomas's teasing smile faded. He was one of the few people who knew about Ryan's childhood struggles before his mother's small organic bakery had taken off, eventually becoming the foundation of what was now Evergreen Foods. "That's actually decent of you," Thomas admitted. "But why the secrecy? Usually your PR team would be all over a human interest story like this." Ryan's expression darkened. "This wasn't for publicity. The last thing that woman needs is to become some corporate charity case for our marketing department." "Fair enough," Thomas conceded, returning to the documents. "Though you realize your mother would say this is fate, right? Meeting a struggling single mom in a grocery store just like she once was?" Ryan ignored the comment, but later that afternoon he found himself driving past Walker's Grocery on his way back from a meeting. Acting on impulse, he pulled into the parking lot, telling himself he simply wanted to check on a retail partner, as any good CEO would. Inside, he nodded to Dave, who looked surprised, but pleased to see him again. Ryan pretended to examine the Evergreen Foods display while casually scanning the store. He was about to leave when he spotted her, Amber, standing at the customer service desk, her daughter perched on her hip. Ryan moved closer, pretending to examine a nearby display of organic crackers. "I understand you can't give me a name," Amber was saying to Dave, "but perhaps you could pass along a thank you note. What happened the other night? It meant more than I can express." Dave glanced uncomfortably past Amber, directly at Ryan, who subtly shook his head. "I wish I could help, ma'am, but it was an anonymous gift. The person was quite clear they wanted no recognition." Amber's shoulders slumped. "I understand. Well, please tell them thank you if you ever see them again. It made a real difference for us." As she turned to leave, Lily dropped her teething toy. Ryan instinctively bent to retrieve it, finding himself face to face with Amber when he straightened. "We meet again," he said with a smile, handing the toy to Lily, who reached for it with delighted recognition. "Oh, the dog whisperer," Amber said, then blushed. "I mean, the man my daughter inexplicably likes. Thank you." "Ryan?" he offered, extending his hand. "Ryan Black?" The partial truth slipped out before he could consider the implications. "Amber Wilson," she replied, shifting Lily to shake his hand. "And this is Lily, as you might remember." Ryan tickled Lily's chin, charmed by her infectious giggle. "Hard to forget such a personality. How's the organic baby food treating her? I couldn't help overhearing that day. Occupational hazard. I'm in the food industry." Amber's eyes widened slightly. "Was it you? Did you—" "Me? No," Ryan lied smoothly, though something in his chest tightened uncomfortably. "But I'm glad someone stepped in. The right nutrition is crucial for development. In fact—" He hesitated, then continued, "I'm actually in town doing research on local food needs. I'd love to hear your perspective as a parent, perhaps over coffee sometime." The words surprised Ryan as much as they clearly surprised Amber, whose cheeks flushed pink. He hadn't planned to ask her out. It was completely inappropriate given his hidden identity and the power imbalance it created. Yet something about her pulled at him, challenging the carefully constructed walls he'd built around himself since becoming CEO. "Coffee?" Amber repeated, clearly flustered. I don't really—" That is, Lily and I are quite busy, and I don't usually... As a market research conversation, Ryan clarified quickly, though that wasn't his true intention. Strictly professional. My company is developing new affordable organic options for families, and your input would be valuable. Lily would be welcome, of course. Amber hesitated, studying him with those perceptive hazel eyes that seemed to see more than he wanted to reveal. For a moment, Ryan was certain she would refuse, and perhaps that would be best for both of them. Okay, she finally said, surprising them both. Professional coffee. When did you have in mind? Tomorrow afternoon? 3 o'clock at Harper's Cafe on Main Street? Ryan suggested, ignoring Thomas's voice in his head, warning him about the dangerous path he was walking. All right, Amber agreed with a cautious smile. We'll see you then, Mr. Black. As she walked away, Ryan stood frozen, watching Lily wave goodbye over her mother's shoulder. What had he just done? And why had he given a false last name? One coffee meeting, that's all it would be. A chance to ensure she was doing okay. Maybe offer some connections for job opportunities, then walk away with a clear conscience. But deep down, Ryan Blackwell knew he was already in too deep. For the first time since his mother's death 5 years ago, he'd acted from his heart rather than his strategic business mind, and that terrified him more than any hostile takeover ever could. Harper's Cafe buzzed with Sunday afternoon energy as Amber secured Lily in a high chair, nervously smoothing her simple blue dress. Despite Megan's insistence that this was totally a date, Amber had dressed professionally, reminding herself this was a business meeting, albeit an unusual one. Sorry I'm late, Ryan's voice came from behind her. He carried a small gift bag and wore jeans with a navy button-down that made his blue eyes more prominent. Traffic was unexpected for such a small town. No problem, Amber replied, noticing he seemed more relaxed than at the grocery store, less corporate somehow. Lily and I were enjoying people watching. Ryan placed the gift bag on the table. A peace offering for keeping you waiting. You didn't need to, Amber began, but Lily was already reaching for the colorful bag. It's nothing extravagant, Ryan assured her. Just something I spotted this morning. Inside was a small plush elephant with a rattle inside. Lily immediately grabbed it, her face lighting up as she discovered the sound. That's very thoughtful, Amber said, touched by his consideration. You didn't mention you had children of your own. Ryan's smile faltered slightly. I don't. Never found the right time or the right person, I suppose. Work always came first, a waitress interrupted, taking their orders. A simple black coffee for Ryan and a tea for Amber, who declined his offer of pastries with practiced restraint that didn't escape Ryan's notice. So, Amber said once they were alone, you mentioned market research. What exactly does your company do? Ryan took a breath. We produce organic foods, focusing on accessibility and affordability without compromising quality. This much was true. I'm particularly interested in how single-parent households manage nutritional needs on limited budgets. Amber laughed softly. You certainly found the right person then. I've become an expert at stretching dollars at the grocery store. As Amber described her challenges, Ryan listened intently, asking thoughtful questions. His genuine interest surprised her. Most people's eyes glazed over when she discussed grocery budgets and meal planning. The problem isn't just cost, she explained, helping Lily with a sippy cup. It's time. After working all day and managing childcare, who has energy to prepare elaborate, healthy meals? That's why those organic baby food jars are so wonderful, even if they're a splurge. Ryan nodded, making notes on his phone. What if there were affordable meal kits specifically designed for parents like you? Pre-measured organic ingredients with simple instructions, possibly even delivered? That would be life-changing, Amber admitted. But anything convenient is usually expensive. Not necessarily, Ryan countered, his expression animated. With the right scaling and distribution model, the price point could be competitive with grocery shopping, especially considering reduced waste. Their conversation flowed easily, moving from food accessibility to Amber's background in accounting and her struggle to find full-time employment since returning to Millfield. Ryan listened thoughtfully, asking questions about her qualifications without the dismissive tone of her recent interviews. Have you considered remote work for larger firms? He asked. Many companies are expanding their virtual workforce. I've applied to several, Amber sighed. But without recent experience or connections, my resume gets lost in the shuffle. I'm considering night classes to update my certifications, but that's another expense. Ryan appeared deep in thought, and Amber wondered if she'd overshared. This was supposed to be about his market research, not her employment woes. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to turn this into a personal therapy session." "Don't apologize," Ryan replied warmly. "This is exactly the kind of real-world perspective businesses need. The disconnect between corporate America and everyday struggles is precisely what I'm researching." Something in his tone made Amber study him more carefully. "You seem passionate about this. Most market researchers I've met are just checking boxes." Ryan's expression changed subtly, and for a moment, Amber thought he might reveal something important. Instead, he deflected, asking about Lily's favorite foods. 2 hours passed in what felt like minutes. As they prepared to leave, Ryan hesitated. "I've really enjoyed talking with you, Amber. Would it be possible to continue our conversation another time, perhaps dinner next weekend? My treat, of course, for research purposes," he added with a smile that suggested otherwise. Amber felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in years. Despite her reservations, she found herself agreeing. "That would be nice. Though I'd need to find a sitter for Lily." "I understand completely," Ryan said, though he looked slightly disappointed. "Just let me know what works for you." They exchanged phone numbers, and Ryan walked them to Amber's car. As he helped secure Lily's new elephant in her car seat, their hands brushed briefly, sending an unexpected warmth through Amber's fingers. "Thank you for this afternoon," she said, suddenly shy. "It's been a while since I've had an adult conversation that didn't involve daycare policies or overdue invoices." Ryan laughed, the sound genuine and warm. "The pleasure was entirely mine. I'll call you this week about dinner." Driving home, Amber tried to temper her expectations. Ryan was charming and attentive, but he was also a businessman passing through town. Getting emotionally invested would be foolish. Still, she couldn't help smiling at the memory of how he'd listened to her, really listened, as if her opinions mattered. What Amber couldn't see was Ryan sitting in his car long after she'd left, staring at her contact information on his phone, wrestling with his growing guilt. The market research pretense was wearing thin, and with each passing minute with Amber, maintaining his partial deception felt increasingly wrong. Tuesday morning found Amber rushing to drop Lily at daycare before her shift at Harrison Accounting. As she hurried through the office door, her supervisor, Patricia, waved her over with unusual excitement. "Amber, you won't believe who called asking about you," Patricia said, eyes wide. "Thomas Grant, CFO of Evergreen Foods. He said they're looking for a remote accounting specialist with experience in small business operations. Exactly your background." Amber nearly dropped her purse. "Evergreen Foods? The organic food company? Why would they call here about me?" Patricia shrugged. "Apparently your resume was forwarded to them. They're very interested in interviewing you tomorrow. It's a full-time position with benefits and flexible remote hours." "That's impossible," Amber murmured, her mind racing. She hadn't applied to Evergreen Foods. Unless, did Mr. Grant mention who referred me? "No, but does it matter? This is a Fortune 500 company, Amber. The salary range he mentioned would change everything for you and Lily." Amber nodded mechanically, her thoughts swirling. This couldn't be coincidence. Ryan had mentioned working in the food industry, and now suddenly a major organic food corporation was interested in her. Something didn't add up. That evening, after putting Lily to bed, Amber researched Evergreen Foods, scrolling through their corporate website. The company had an impressive commitment to organic agriculture and fair labor practices, with distribution across the country. Their CEO was described as a visionary who had transformed the company from a regional supplier to a national powerhouse. Curious, Amber clicked on the leadership page and felt the blood drain from her face. Staring back at her was a professional headshot of Ryan, not Ryan Black as he'd claimed, but Ryan Blackwell, founder and CEO of Evergreen Foods. "Oh my God," she whispered, pieces falling into place. The expensive clothes he'd tried to downplay, his detailed knowledge of the organic food industry, his careful questions about her financial struggles, the anonymous grocery gift. It had been him all along. Hot embarrassment washed over her, quickly turning to anger. He had lied about his identity while she had shared her financial struggles, her parenting challenges, her career disappointments. What kind of man pretended to be someone else? Was this all some kind of charitable project for him? The struggling single mom he could rescue? Her phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. "Hope you had a good day. Still thinking about our conversation." Looking forward to dinner Saturday. Amber's hands shook as she typed back, "Who are you really, Ryan Blackwell, CEO of Evergreen Foods? Was talking to me some kind of corporate research project, or just entertainment for a bored executive?" Hitting send brought momentary satisfaction, followed by crushing disappointment. She had genuinely enjoyed his company, had even allowed herself to imagine possibilities. Foolish. Miles across town, Ryan stared at Amber's text with a sinking heart. He had planned to tell her the truth at dinner, to explain his reasons for the deception. Now it was too late. "Call her," Thomas advised when Ryan showed him the message. "Explain that you were going to tell her everything." "Were you?" Thomas pressed when Ryan remained silent. "Or were you enjoying being just Ryan for a change instead of Ryan Blackwell, the CEO everyone wants something from?" Ryan had no answer. The truth was uncomfortably close to Thomas's suggestion. With Amber, he'd felt like himself for the first time in years. Not the corporate titan, not the wealthy bachelor, just a man connecting with a remarkable woman and her daughter. Now, with a few taps on a keyboard, Amber had uncovered his deception, and Ryan faced losing something he hadn't realized he wanted so desperately until this moment. A chance at genuine connection. As he dialed her number, Ryan prepared for her justified anger, hoping against hope that he hadn't destroyed whatever was beginning between them before it had a chance to grow. Amber declined Ryan's call, then the second and the third. By the fourth, she turned off her phone entirely, tears streaming down her face as she curled up on her worn couch. The interview offer from Evergreen Foods now felt like charity, or worse, manipulation. Was the job even real, or just Ryan's way of solving her problems like some corporate knight in shining armor? The following morning, she called Patricia to decline the interview. "Are you insane?" Patricia exclaimed. "This is a life-changing opportunity." "It's complicated," Amber replied, unable to explain the humiliation she felt. "I can't accept a position that wasn't offered based on my qualifications." "Amber Wilson," Patricia said firmly, "I've known you since you were in pigtails. Your pride has always been both your strength and your downfall. At least do the interview. If it feels wrong afterward, then walk away." After a long pause, Amber reluctantly agreed, though she had no intention of accepting the position. She would face this Thomas Grant professionally, make it clear she didn't need Ryan Blackwell's pity, and then put this humiliating episode behind her. That afternoon, as Amber prepared for Lily's pediatrician appointment, a knock at her apartment door startled her. She opened it to find Ryan standing there, holding a bouquet of daisies, simple flowers, not extravagant roses, and looking thoroughly miserable. "Before you slam the door," he said quickly, "please let me explain. 5 minutes, that's all I ask." Amber crossed her arms protectively. "I have to leave for Lily's doctor appointment. I don't have time for more lies." "Then I'll drive you," Ryan offered. "We can talk on the way, please, Amber." Something in his voice, a rawness she hadn't heard before, made her hesitate. "Fine, 5 minutes in the car, but I'm not accepting those flowers." In Ryan's Audi, with Lily securely fastened in the back seat, an uncomfortable silence stretched between them. Finally, Ryan spoke. "I never meant to deceive you," he began. "That night at the grocery store, I acted on impulse. I saw you putting back the baby food, and it hit something deep inside me, memories of my mother struggling to feed us after my father left. So I was a charity case," Amber said bitterly. "No," Ryan insisted. "A charity case wouldn't have kept me awake for 3 nights straight, thinking about your smile and your daughter's laugh. When I saw you again at Walker's, asking about the groceries, I panicked. I didn't want you to feel indebted or uncomfortable. And giving a fake name seemed like the solution," Amber challenged. Ryan gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I didn't plan that. But the moment you looked at me, not as CEO Ryan Blackwell, but just as a man, I couldn't give it up. Do you know how rarely people see past my position or my wealth to the actual person?" "That doesn't justify lying," Amber said, though her tone had softened slightly. "You're right," Ryan admitted. "I should have told you the truth at the cafe. I was going to explain everything at dinner, I swear. But then Thomas mentioned the job opening, and I thought that you could fix my life," Amber interrupted. "Did it occur to you that I don't need rescuing? That despite my struggles, I have my dignity?" Ryan pulled into the pediatrician's parking lot and turned to face her. "Amber, the job is legitimate. Thomas reviewed your resume, which is on file from when you applied to our Chicago office 2 years ago, by the way. Your qualifications are exactly what we need. I didn't create the position, I just expedited the interview process. Amber's eyes widened. I applied to Evergreen Foods years ago. Right after college, according to our records, Ryan confirmed. You were shortlisted but chose another offer closer to home. This revelation left Amber momentarily speechless as she recalled the entry-level position she'd taken at a local firm instead of moving to Chicago, a decision made primarily because her father had just been diagnosed with cancer. The interview tomorrow is real, Ryan continued. Thomas doesn't do favors, even for me. If you get the job, it will be on merit alone. Before Amber could respond, Lily began fussing in her car seat, ready to be free. I need to go, Amber said, gathering her diaper bag. I'll think about what you've said. Can I pick you both up afterward? Ryan asked. No pressure, just a ride home. It's starting to rain. Looking at the darkening sky, Amber nodded reluctantly. Just a ride home. The pediatrician's appointment went well, with Lily receiving a clean bill of health and charming everyone in the office. As promised, Ryan was waiting when they finished, standing under an umbrella in the now pouring rain. During the drive back, Lily's cheerful babbling filled the silence between the adults. As they approached Amber's apartment building, Ryan finally spoke again. I understand if you never want to see me again, he said quietly, but please don't punish yourself by refusing the job opportunity. You deserve it regardless of us. The word us hung in the air between them. Amber stared out at the rain, conflicted. Part of her wanted to hold on to her anger, to reject anything connected to his deception. But another part, the practical mother who wanted the best for her daughter, recognized the opportunity for what it was. I'll do the interview, she finally said, but I'm doing it for Lily, not for you. Ryan nodded, accepting her terms. That's fair. After he helped carry Lily inside, Ryan lingered at the door. For what it's worth, nothing else was a lie. Not my interest in your perspective, not my enjoyment of our conversation, and certainly not how I feel about seeing you again. Before Amber could respond, he handed her a business card, his real one this time, and left. The following morning, Amber interviewed with Thomas Grant via video conference. True to Ryan's word, the interview was thoroughly professional, with challenging questions about her accounting experience and problem-solving abilities. No mention was made of her connection to Ryan. When Thomas offered her the position at the end of the call, with a salary that made her gasp, Amber asked the question burning in her mind. Why me, Mr. Grant? Surely you have hundreds of more qualified applicants. Thomas studied her for a moment before answering. Ms. Wilson, I've been with Evergreen Foods since Ryan's mother ran it out of her kitchen. In 15 years as CEO, I've never seen Ryan Blackwell bring someone coffee, much less offer them a ride to a doctor's appointment. Whatever impression you've made, it's significant. But, he added firmly, this offer is based solely on your qualifications and our needs. Ryan doesn't even know I'm offering you the position today. After the call, Amber sat in stunned silence, processing Thomas's words and the opportunity before her. The position would change everything for her and Lily: financial security, flexible hours, career advancement. But accepting meant acknowledging that Ryan's intervention, however misguided, had opened this door. For 3 days, Amber wrestled with her decision, ignoring Ryan's occasional text messages asking if she was all right. Finally, on Saturday morning, she made her choice. With Lily dressed in her cutest outfit, Amber drove to the address on Ryan's business card, the luxury rental overlooking the river. Ryan opened the door, looking sleep-deprived and disheveled, his surprise evident. Amber. Lily. I accepted the job, Amber announced without preamble. Not because of you, but because it's what's best for us. I start on Monday, remotely as agreed. Relief washed over Ryan's face. That's wonderful. Congratulations. I'm not finished, Amber continued, her chin lifted with determination. I've been thinking about why your lie hurt so much. It wasn't just the deception. It was feeling like I was some project for you, some problem to solve. I don't want or need that kind of relationship. Ryan's expression fell. I understand. But, Amber added softly, I would consider a relationship where we're equals, where you see me as Amber Wilson, capable accountant and mother, not just a struggling single mum. Where I see you as Ryan, the man who makes my daughter laugh, not Ryan Blackwell, CEO. Hope sparked in Ryan's eyes. I'd like that very much. It won't be easy, Amber warned. I have trust issues for valid reasons, and you have, well, your entire life is different from mine. Different doesn't mean incompatible, Ryan said, reaching cautiously for her hand. My mother raised me to value character over circumstance. When I'm with you and Lily, I feel like myself, not the persona I've created to survive in the corporate world. Lily chose that moment to offer Ryan her toy elephant, a gesture of trust that brought tears to Amber's eyes. We could start small, Amber suggested. That dinner you mentioned, but this time with complete honesty. Ryan's smile was genuine as he gently took the elephant from Lily. Complete honesty, I promise. 6 months later, Amber stood in her new office in the guest room of her newly purchased small house, finalizing quarterly reports for Evergreen Foods. Her performance had exceeded expectations, with Thomas already hinting at a promotion to team lead. Outside, through the window, she could see Ryan pushing Lily on the swing set he'd built in the backyard. Their relationship had progressed slowly, with Ryan proving his trustworthiness through consistency and transparency. He'd supported her career without overshadowing her achievements, celebrating each milestone as she established herself at Evergreen Foods. Tonight would mark another milestone. Ryan had planned a special dinner, and Megan had agreed to babysit Lily. Amber suspected he might propose, a thought that once would have terrified her but now filled her with quiet joy. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. She's asking for another push. I can't say no to that smile, just like her mother's. Amber smiled, remembering their first encounter at Walker's Grocery, where a simple act of kindness had set everything in motion. Life had a way of bringing unexpected blessings, sometimes disguised as challenges or even deceptions. As she watched the man she'd grown to love playing with her daughter, Amber felt a profound gratitude for second chances and new beginnings. She hadn't needed rescuing after all, just an opportunity to showcase her strength. And Ryan, despite his initial misstep, had ultimately given her exactly that. In the simple joy of that moment, watching the two people who had transformed her life, Amber knew she had found not just financial security or professional fulfillment, but something far more precious. A partner who saw her completely and loved her exactly as she was.